Well, good afternoon and welcome to the 2019 Central Coast Business Symposium. I'm Michael Morris of Andre Morris & Buttery, and I will be your moderator for today's event. We have a wonderful afternoon ahead of us planned for you, and appreciate your joining us here today. Today marks the 11th year that we've gathered together for this symposium, and we're joined today by 6 leading Central Coast businesses that have co-sponsored this event with Andre Morris & Buttery for more than a decade. I'd like to recognize them now, and I'd ask you to hold your applause until I've introduced all of them. Our sponsors are Central Reprographic Services, Morris & Garetano Insurance, Presqu'île Winery, Glenn Burdett CPAs, Tax and Business Advisors, Toma Electric Company, and Pacific Premier Bank. Let's give them a round of applause. This year, we're also pleased to have established a partnership with the 13 local chambers of commerce representing all of San Luis Obispo County and northern Santa Barbara County. I usually try to say a few words, something kind of business related to get us into the mood for the presentations that we're going to hear. And I was talking to Brendan Morris, who is with Morris & Garetano, and he was talking about some employment woes that they had in their office. He'd been trying to hire an assistant for a while, and they were looking for somebody with certain office skills and frankly needed somebody who was bilingual. And so after a frustrating day of doing a bunch of interviews, he was sitting alone out actually at the front office, and the door opens and in comes a little dog. And Brendan looks down at the dog and he goes, "Little dog, you here to apply for the job?" And kind of chuckles, and the dog goes, "Woof." And he says, "Seriously?" He says, "Okay." So he grabs a letter that he had on his desk, and he says to the dog, "Take this over and type this." Dog goes over, grabs the paper, trots on over, hops up on the chair, pops the computer on, drops the paper down. Hits print, thing comes out, grabs it, back over to Brendan, drops it on Brendan's lap. Brendan looks down, it's letter perfect, not a typo. The dog has perfectly typed this letter on a computer. Brendan goes, "This is extraordinary." He said, "You know, frankly, if you were bilingual, I'd hire you right now." The dog goes, "Woof." You go, "Wait a second. Typing dog's one thing, bilingual's another. If you're bilingual, I'm going to have to hear that now." The dog kind of swallows and looks around and goes, "Meow." I understand the dog has since been promoted and now works in the bond department at Morris & Garetano. Our program is this year, as always, designed to promote business success on the Central Coast. And this year, our focus is on employment, engagement, and retention, development of the next generation of business leaders, and entrepreneurship on the Central Coast. Our speakers are uniquely qualified to address these topics. We have a wonderful program ahead. We thank you for joining us. I know you're eager for us to get started, so let's jump in with our first speaker. I will say that we will be passing out some paper. If you have a question while our speaker is making her presentation, feel free to jot it down. We'll pick them up because I think we're going to have a few minutes for questions at the end of the first speaker's presentation. Peggy Tayloe began her career on the Central Coast with Zing Technology. Zing was a pioneer in audio and video streaming over the internet. Peggy went on to work in the IT sector for the next 20 years, working with a lot of household names, Hilton, Hewlett-Packard, and IBM. She's held roles in sales, marketing, and human resources. Currently, she is the Vice President, Human Resources and Global Recruiting at West Pharmaceutical Services. She's going to speak to us today about the partnership between the HR department and employees. Please join me in welcoming Peggy.
Thanks. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for having me here today. It's been a real pleasure to come back here and be part of this program in this setting. As I went to prepare for this, I had to reflect on my time here spent in the early part of my career at a company called Zing Technology. And I was thinking about what made it so special. Why were those years so special? And going through and applying what was so special, what were the aspects that were so special about that through my journey to this point in time, and distilling down the things that I took forward from my experiences right here in this special community was genuinely a rewarding experience for me. So thanks for the opportunity in letting me share some of this with you. I currently work for West Pharmaceutical Services, and as you see from our tagline, it's by your side for a healthier world. By your side. I just want to reflect on that for a minute. By your side. Doesn't that make you feel good? Like safe and confident? It speaks to me. It makes me feel like I want to say it to other people. I am by your side. And by your side for a healthier world. Doesn't that sound so powerful? We at West didn't put that together through research, focus groups. It's not the result of $1 million budget, with an ad agency. We developed that actually using something we were able to take from our past and reapply it for our tagline. But it has literally helped us reframe the employee experience into a way that shows the connection point between what a person is doing in their day-to-day job and the ultimate outcome of making it a healthier world and patient outcomes. It has been really powerful in doing this. So today I'm going to share with you 5 ideas, really stories, of how you might be able to look for ways to connect your work to your workforce. Powerful ways that you can hopefully apply. Some might sound like motherhood and apple pie, but hopefully it doesn't sound like motherhood and apple pie. I also hope it doesn't sound too revolutionary. So sharing a sense of mission. It's the very first topic that we're going to talk about today. The 5 key aspects are sharing a sense of mission, taking a chance on talent, operating like a technology company, even though you might not be a technology company, making it personal, and it literally takes a village. So we're going to talk about these 5 concepts, but we're going to start with the first one, which is getting somebody to share your sense of mission, making people feel like they have a connection to something bigger than themselves. So let me start with Zing Technology, where I came from. I started with this company, and there were 11 employees, and a business manager. They were engineers, a business manager, and a controller. And I found myself, when I came to California, I found myself working for this company and learning about their technology. And I'll tell you a little bit about my experiences in a second. And you might look at these headlines that I happened to grab from the internet about that time and about Zing Technology's impact. And you might think, internet streaming? What's the big deal? Why did she think that that experience was so special? It's ubiquitous now. At the time, it wasn't ubiquitous. At the time, we were working day and night trying to drive adoption of new technology, push the envelope, work with partners to try to get people to really change the paradigm on how we were going to communicate moving forward. If we had been employees taking paychecks, just coming in at 9 o'clock in the morning, doing our job, being interested in getting out as soon as possible, I wonder if this would have happened. The pioneers and the partners in this space, their energy around this movement, and really it was a movement, was so infectious. The idea of partnering with communities, excuse me, we called it cooperation back then, partnering with each other for a common goal to really drive forward the technology, get people to think about things differently. That was a mindset change. And we all felt like we were part of something bigger right here from the Central Coast. So, and actually literally right here. It was not far away from here. But it was very far away, literally and figuratively, from big cities like Chicago and New York and San Francisco and Los Angeles. We were doing this here, from right here in this little community, with a very small group of people. Sorry, I'm going to take you through a video of West Pharmaceutical Services. West has to operate where Zing was doing something that was more organic, honestly. We happened to be at the right place at the right time. West, and the company I work for now, West Pharmaceutical Services, has had to work a little bit harder to build the connection and make employees feel like they're part of something bigger. But in both cases, I think the companies have gotten something right. So I'm going to show a little clip of a video that was recently shown at an employee forum, and then we'll talk more about it after the video.
Justice was born in June 2016, and we had no idea actually what hemophilia was when he was born.
He has severe hemophilia type A. When you get a cut, it's a cascading effect, so he's missing factor 8. So he'll get up to that point, and then his body won't continue through the rest of the healing process. He's goofball. Yeah, he's a silly kid. He definitely has been through a lot, so he's brave. He's tough, resilient.
The hardest thing, scary-wise, with Justice was when we did do a port placement in his chest, because he has to get treatments every day, and I've learned how to do it, so me and my husband administer it. My husband holds him, and I give it to him, and he needs that daily to help him not have bleeding issues.
I, over time, realized that our products were on his drugs, and first it was the vial adapter. I was able to recognize that that was indeed like our vial adapter, and through some research realizing that other of our components are on this factor drug, and so it was a really awesome thing to realize that our components are on his drug.
So did I tell you what we do? West Pharmaceutical Services has been around 100 years, 96 years. We are a manufacturer of rubber stoppers and seals. Can you tell from that video? When we watch that video, I can see that most of the men in the audience are literally trying not to tear up, and all the women are crying. We have worked really hard over the last 18 months to run employee forums every quarter. Everybody gets together. We have a few messages ahead of the video, and then we run a video. And for the last few quarters, we've been running videos 4 to 7 minutes long, where there's an employee, Christine, Elena, Matthias, Royce, all talking about very powerful stories of how our products have helped touch their lives in extraordinarily profound ways. So remember, our tagline is "By Your Side for a Healthier World." It helps connect our employees with our mission in profound ways. And we've seen over the time that we've pulled these campaigns through, we've seen the employee experience get deeper. It becomes a shared experience, one that is driving for the same outcome. It's authentic and it's profound and it's shared and it helps us drive patient outcomes, which is ultimately the goal. So here we are. We have Christine, we have Matthias and Matthias's family. We have Elena up top, her son's finger. All of these different videos we use to help with employee testimonials, talking about our products and how critical our products are to patient outcomes. We were part of something bigger. And Zing did it organically. Wes did it in a much more, it took a little bit more effort, but in still a very powerful way. And remind me, when you're all thinking at the end of this presentation, that, well, yeah, that was a technology startup and they did cool things, and remind me, or I will remember to tell you, that I work for a company at the end of the day that's a manufacturer of rubber stoppers and seals. Second point, take a chance on talent. So as I said, when I came to the Central Coast, I was in my 20s. I showed up on Zing's door, totally confident, largely unaware. And I was an English major. I did not have a background in computer science or coding. And I did not know, I saw the technology, I did not know what they really did. At the end of the day, I didn't know how they did it. I was just green. And Howard Gordon took a chance on me. As I said, there were 11 engineers, 1 business manager, 1 controller, and the controller was the only other woman, and she was his wife. So they sat me, what I thought was going to be my office. It's a desk. Across the desk from the CEO, from Howard Gordon. I sat there for 6 months. I'm an English major. I positioned myself as a publicist, as a communication specialist. And he taught me the business. I kept my eyes open, my ears open. I didn't have a lot of confidence. The confidence I had was shaky at the first few months. He had enough confidence for both of us. He was courageous. He took a chance on me. I guarantee you, those people, and there might be some in the audience, those people that were starting out and had been with Howard for a while were thinking, what is that little girl going to do? How in the world is she going to contribute to our business? So I'm sitting across from this desk, and you might, if you know technology companies, be envisioning clean rooms, bright lights, anti-static, static-free rooms. Instead, we were in an office building down the street at the old Kmart, off the parking lot of the old Kmart. And those computers that Howard was working on and his engineers looked a lot like these. He literally didn't have a casing on his computer. It whirred loudly. It was, making noises. You could hear the fan that wasn't exactly in all the way. It was piece parts. And that was the environment. And I have to tell you, I learned more. I was there almost 3 years. I learned more in that 3-year period than I did anywhere else. And he took a chance on me. And he was there morning, noon, and night. And you know what? I was totally committed. I was not going to let him down. I was there 24 hours a day. I did whatever he wanted. I had no right taking on some of the responsibilities I took on. But, he made sure I would be successful. And eventually other people were invested in my success too at the company. So if you are looking for talent, the dog, and you're frustrated, and the people that are coming through don't have the pedigree that you had envisioned, maybe think about taking a chance on them. Because, and I say this all the time in my job today, that maybe spending 3 or 4 or 6 months working with somebody to help them get there, maybe that will instill a deeper sense of commitment, a mutual loyalty and respect that you have for each other. And yes, they're going to make mistakes. But isn't that the point? Don't we all learn from our mistakes? So fast forward. Oh, I have to put this in, and I apologize ahead of time for using his quote, if Tim Williams is here. Is he here? So this is indeed why you need to take a chance on talent, why you need to work really hard, take that extra step, make a connection, make sure that people feel that when they're working right here, they can be impacting much larger missions, right? You can have a much bigger impact than you think you are. And it can be happening. And this quote is just perfectly encapsulating Howard's impact on the community and on me. So fast forward to Tom Watson and IBM. So I used Zing and my time here as a springboard to the IT industry, and I ended up at IBM. I was there for a long time, half my career. And at IBM, what I learned was that sponsorship, what Howard did instinctually in taking a chance on me, that is the cornerstone of development at IBM. It was everything I had learned from Howard and benefited from Howard was here at IBM. So I started in a leadership development program for general managers, and I have to tell you, I had a general manager take me under his wing for 1.5 years. I traveled around the world with him. And I learned a lot in that time frame. And I realized that identification of talent, being invested in talent, throwing somebody into the deep end, but giving them enough support that they succeed. Or if they fail, which people will, making sure that you sit down with them and you learn, and you make sure that they learn from their failures and they're resilient. The interesting piece about IBM that I think is critical is that it's a mutual conversation. It's a mutual commitment. If you're going to take a chance on someone, they need to know that, and they need to be invested in it with you. And that's a difference that I was able to kind of glean from the experience with IBM. This was powerful. I actually now work at West because I followed one of my mentors over to West. She left IBM, and she's the head of HR for West Pharmaceutical. And I speak her language. And we have a mutual trust and a deep loyalty to each other because of this. So you don't need deep pockets to do it either. This is just a mutual commitment, taking a chance on somebody and making sure that if they don't succeed or if they fail, if they experience a failure, that you're going to have enough courage, you're going to be bold enough, even in the face of when other people say, she's really not working out. You're going to have the courage to say, yeah, I've got this. We'll make sure she works. We'll make sure it works. That's what Howard did. And I can tell you, at IBM, it was natural. This was expected. You got trained to do this. Howard Gordon, now with the benefit of some perspective and maturity all these years later, this was outside of his comfort zone. But he did it. There's a famous story about Mr. Watson. Actually, I'm not sure. It's an urban legend. But an employee makes a mistake, early days in the company, makes a mistake for something to the equivalent of $1 million, gets called up into Watson's office. The employee fully expects he's going to be fired. So he walks in and says, I bet you want me to extend my resignation, offer my resignation. And Watson says, are you kidding me? I just spent $1 million on your education. You just have to turn the paradigm. Third, operate like a technology company, even if you're not a technology company. What do I mean there? This is not offering free coffee. I have been in the IT industry for over 20 years. Continual transformation, the pressures of innovation, automation, transformation were part of the everyday life. You had to continually push harder and reinvent yourself. That high thresholds of change were there every single day. So when I went to work in nonprofit for a couple of years and now pharmaceutical, I naively thought, oh, thank God, I can take a deep breath. I don't have to worry about that daily pressure anymore of transformation. I work at West. West is a company of production engineers and scientists. We're highly technical. And everyday life at both companies, honestly, was measured by what? Innovation, automation, and transformation. So in a way, it's good. I found myself in similar situations, but you need to operate that way. The other thing is, we are all consumers. All of your employees are consumers. We have upped the game in terms of expectations, in terms of experience. I logged on to make my reservations to come here. I go onto the airline website. It autofills all my information. I love autofill. So when I go enter my benefits in open enrollment, you know what I expect? I expect autofill. I certainly don't expect to take a piece of paper and write it down and hand it to somebody. So if you expect that as a person, as a consumer, then your employees are going to expect that. So it's a reality. You need to operate like a technology company, even if you're not a technology company. So we've been in business 95 years. I'm just going to give you this one little story about it. Oops. Automation, like most companies like this, automation is not new to us. It's not a new concept. Those people on the left, they're doing a visual inspection of our product. On the right is what we have today. It's automated inspection. You're not supposed to see these numbers on this graph. But we have been doing manual visual inspection of our stoppers and our seals for 3 or 4 generations. And we've made incremental improvements. Then we get this machine in place that can do it in an automated way with no human intervention. And these defects, which are part of the manufacturing process, these are particulates and defects. These defects on the left are what we would measure with visual inspection, human intervention. And then you have the implementation of Envision. And the defect rate goes way down, dramatically down. It is game-changing. Our products have dramatically less particulates, which of course you want, right? If you have an ocular injection, you don't want particulates in that. It's going directly into your eye. We can now help, the companies we work with, can now help cure blindness. You don't want those particulates that are part of the manufacturing process to mess that up, right? We framed this into those patient outcomes. If you'll hearken back to the video that I showed you, those patient outcomes are critical. Do you know why? Everybody feels like they're part of something bigger. So instead of everybody getting scared of that, because they want to be these people, they're scared that, this slide works. They're scared because automation means people will lose their jobs. Some people will be displaced. But at our company, we haven't heard that noise very much for a couple of reasons. The primary one is because we take people from the journey. This is Elena Mack. She's ironically the vice president of quality systems for West. And that's her 17-year-old son who's going off to college. That's him when he was a little boy. He suffers from severe diabetes. She has literally watched him make sure that he survives, go through massive crises in his life. And our products and the companies we work with have helped him lead a much more normal life to the point where he's going to college. She doesn't stay up at night worried that he's going to go into diabetic shock in the middle of the night. And that's because of our products. So when somebody says, well, the Envision technology, this automation, is going to displace these 20 workers in Illinois or in Nebraska, we don't hear that noise as much. We're going to try to offer them other positions. We're going to give them transition management services. We're going to try to reskill them. We're doing something for the first time that we've ever done. We're offering our manufacturing employees relocation assistance. They have 30 days to find another job within West, and we offer them relocation assistance. These are people making $14 an hour. It had never been done at West. So we're working to reframe. We do tuition assistance now at the manufacturing level. So we're committed to our employees. That has to be authentic. And we frame what we're doing on our advancements in a way that touches our colleagues. Make it personal. Honestly, I just kind of covered it. We do have to make it personal. We have to tie what we're doing to outcomes that are going to touch our employees in some way. Here's an employee. We did this campaign. It's all over our shop floors. It's all over our corporate headquarters in every region, every language that we work within. Our employees, this is Julie DiCenzo, our employees with a placard, we have 3 fundamental values, with a placard with one of the values saying, I'm committed, I'm working for. And I mean, how can you get much more personal than Grandmom Clara? Every single one of our employees has one of these. And it was a campaign we did to make it personal. I think Wes got that right. And remember, I'm kind of at the end here. We are a manufacturer of rubber stoppers and seals. Finally, and I probably don't have to tell you here because you're here, but it takes a village. I'm going to spend a few minutes on this anyway. I worked for a nonprofit for 2 years, and the nonprofit is a behavior change company at its core, but they're an environmental NGO. They work to go into communities and engage the village and communicate what practices they're doing that are affecting the world in a negative way or their community in a negative way, whether it's overfishing or whether it's clear-cutting trees and impacting the water supply, whether it's allowing their cattle to go into the rivers and streams, the fresh water beds. So they go into a community and they engage the local community, the local leaders, all the different factions of the local leaders, and they bring them together and they educate them on what's happening, on different solutions, and they give them tools to engage the rest of the community. It's community-led environmental change, and their premise is that the only way to drive real behavior change, which is sustainable change, as opposed to the old way of going in and making a change and saying, we know the answers, we're going to do something for you, and then they do something and drive a little change and leave. This is community-led, and it drives a behavior change. It makes people commit to each other. So if you have fishermen, you do rights-based fishing. They're not competing against each other. They're working together to commit to being enforcers of the rights to fish, and this is their livelihood. They understand why what they're doing, what they're committing to, will drive a positive outcome. So this is rare. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on them, but I'm going to show you a little bit of a video. And the reason I would encourage you to learn more about them, but the reason I'm going to show you the video is because there is a cultured distinction, or was at Rare, between the corporate team that wasn't in the field doing the hard work and the field, who are the experts at this change and this community organizing. And the people at Rare in the corporate headquarters in Washington, D.C., or Arlington, Virginia, right outside of Washington, D.C., they felt like they weren't really the special sauce. They weren't driving the change. They weren't in the woods working for 3 years with the FARC at their back in Colombia to make sure that farmers did the right thing and, so communities would have running clean water. So we decided we would take, the company's called Rare, we decided we would take Rare and make the connection point between these people working mainly at the corporate headquarters and the work we do. So let me show it.
I am open-minded.
I am passionate.
I'm a maker. I am ambitious.
I am a learner.
I am concerned for the environment.
I am a believer in the good people can do when they come together.
We are Rare. Rare's mission is to inspire change so people and nature thrive, and then systematically replicating that solution in other places, in other communities, and in other countries all over the world.
The mission, I think, is the most important thing to everyone here. I think it's what draws people here to the organization.
Working at Rare, you get a really unique opportunity to go into these countries and see what life is like for the people that we not only work with, but the people that we're helping in the communities.
I was really surprised by the physical being of the office. This was bright, energetic, just had a completely different feel as soon as you walked through the door, before you even talked to anybody. I had more of this startup, entrepreneurial, high energy. You just felt like, oh, this is different. There's something different happening here.
Everyone is very passionate about their work. They're definitely determined, and it's not because they have to or they have deadlines to meet, it's because they want to be here.
Rare very much believes that, diversity makes us stronger. Like, we need everybody, and everybody has a really critical role here.
It is amazing to work in a place where you feel like everyone who comes loves what they do and believes in what Rare does and how we do it.
If you want to work at Rare, you have to like a fast-paced, interactive, hands-on environment where you might be doing something completely different one day, flying to the Philippines the next day, just having that sense where you don't know what you're going to get from day to day.
It's a think big or go home mentality, that's for sure. Everybody who starts working here will tell you that from day one they drink from a fire hose because there's just so much going on.
One of the things that I've told applicants during the interview process is that they own their future here at Rare. It's such an entrepreneurial and growing environment that what they need to be able to do is to take the initiative and to think about what needs to happen and just start doing it.
So the journey of an employee at Rare is constantly finding a bigger challenge and a bigger skill set or motivation or support network to be able to meet it. What that results in is growth and success and fulfillment. That's what a great job should be like.
I am Rare.
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 That audio cost $435. We did this with footage that we took. We worked with one guy that helped us, that was a friend of ours from our network, and we put this together. And doesn't it make you feel good? I am Rare. So I guess I want to leave you with this. You're all here today, educators, parents, business leaders, lawyers. You have a very special community. Your collective voice is so much stronger than your independent voices. And I would encourage you to pick up the phone. You're doing some of this today. Call, network, share best practices, build relationships, make a commitment to the community, take a chance on people, demonstrate that you're doing things that connect to a bigger message. Get people to share your sense of mission. I had a lot of things I was going to talk about. I'm just going to talk about one thing that hopefully you won't find to be too revolutionary. If you have 5, 10, 15 employees, just to give an example, 50 employees, and you hire somebody in, chances are you probably, let's say that they show great potential and you think they could be you someday. Chances are you probably can't offer them the breadth of experiences that they need to be you someday. They're probably, given the workforce that's entering the market now, they're probably going to want to leave after 2 years. So how do you make sure that you take a chance on them, but you also give them the commitment and the development and the opportunities and the breadth of experiences needed to get to where you were? But do it in a way that's controlled. Do it in a way that's deliberate. You work together. You build a rotational program that's across company. Why does the employee have to be your employee? Why don't you second them to another organization where they can go become an accountant for somebody or work in financial planning? Get some experience in a different industry. Have them come back around, show them We're going to give you this. And then this could be on the horizon. Then if you wanted to do this, we could maybe send you to school to get training in this area or complete your degree because we think you have potential. But you all have to work together to build that sustainable workforce, right? That's the way you drive that sustainable mission and workforce around your community. And you can do that. So I guess what I'm asking after all of this is to be more, well, rare. Thank you.